Hello,
Live.
Paul.
Hi,
Yeah, no,
JJ.
it's been a long time, buddy.
Has been a hot minute.
It has. And look at this too. And I just have to make a call out to it because it just shows how long it has been. We're actually on Google Meet doing this, and compared to what we used to do, so it shows how long it
Oh
truly has.
yeah, right.
Yeah,
We used to because we used Zoom for a while. Then what was that we were
OBS
using
and
for a while?
yes,
OBS Ninja. That's right. And there was some other tool we used for a bit too, right?
StreamYard maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, StreamYard. That's right. Yeah.
Mhm. So, and
Well,
now we're just
we forgot how all that stuff works, so we're just in a G Meet.
exactly, and also we're just too old, and we're just like, you know what, Google Meet it just works, so
Right.
let's just. Oh, that's great. But yeah, hey, so well, let's introduce ourselves, and then from there we can kind of talk about what we're planning on doing, at least on this recording, and then we'll go from there. So, hey, who are you?
I'm Paul Tchaikovsky. What do you want to know about me? I work at Red Hat, which you may have heard of. We make and Linux. Um, I am a managed OpenShift black belt, which is just a fancy way of saying I help our customers utilize and get value out of using our cloud services, which is, among other things, a SRE managed OpenShift that customers can just access without needing to actually run their own OpenShift, which is pretty sweet.
Mhm. Cool, cool, cool,
And who are
cool.
you?
Hey, I'm JJ. I believe my title is still developer advocate for IBM. But I'm slowly but surely moving into another role where I'm spending a lot of time on a project called InstructLab, which is the reason why Paul and I are together today. Um, the so part of just to you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen, and we'll just start there.
JJ, are we AI washing our stream? Is that
Yeah.
what's happening here?
Well, it is being transcribed as we speak too. So
Ooh, fancy.
I know it's all kind of crazy. So actually, before I show you this one, uh, if you are wondering what InstructLab.ai, if you are one, did I not spell that right? I didn't spell it right. InstructLab.ai. So if you have never seen this before, you're wondering why Paul and I are coming together. Um, there's a new open source project that was announced what 2 3 weeks ago now at Red Hat Summit called InstructLab, which is as it says right there, community-based approach to a truly open source LLM. Paul has been told that he has to start learning this thing. And luckily, I have been sitting here learning this for basically 2 months before it was announced. I got involved in the project very early. So we realized that this is a great opportunity for me to sit down with him and walk him through the things he needs to know so he can be effective with it. And maybe just maybe, if you're watching this video, you'll come along on this journey with us and try to see the beauty of this project. Is that about right, Paul?
That is about right. I have a question.
Yeah.
Was it on purpose that the Instruct Lab logo looks like a Clark Kent version of the Datadog?
It was
Is it the same dog?
it's not the same dog. It's not the same dog, but it's actually I believe I want to say it's Russell Bryant's dog, or a picture of his dog or something like that.
Okay.
There was somebody in the original team. This is they're personifying because I mean obviously giving dog glasses you're personifying something. It is actually their dog, which I thought was neat. Um, then, by the way, if you do not know anything about this project whatsoever, don't worry. We're going to start from the ground up. But it is important to recognize there is this paper right here, and the first thing you need to you do not. People will tell you you need to read the paper, and yes, you need to read the paper. But you can use this project without reading the paper. But you need to understand if you want to understand the reason why it exists. Take the moments to read the paper. There's a lot of math in it. It's a very technical document, but it will give you some situational awareness. Or just come into the different channels that we have and talk. We have a lot of people who've read it enough to be able to understand what to do. So I would be remiss not to say these things. So, there's this is a very beautiful, great marketing presentation about what this does. I'll let you read this at your leisure, and I want to go straight over to where you actually need to do something with this project. And we're doing everything through GitHub, where we are going to leverage Python to help fine tune models to create um, models that you can truly say that are attributed correctly, that are the ability to have actual history associated with them. And if you're in a regulated industry, you know how that model was trained.
Now, when you're saying models, right, you're talking about like a pre-trained LLM, a large language model. Yes.
Yes. So we have two models, which, if you don't know what a model is, a good way to think about it is um, there's a lot of different metaphors to talk about. I'm going to switch around a lot because unfortunately every metaphors don't always fit the correct way. But when you are doing AI work, a model is the brain, right? It is the thing that you interact with, and it has a certain amount of knowledge in this space that it knows about. And that knowledge is trained on by called data sets. And data sets are put into the model, which isn't exactly correct, but close enough as the source code of the model, right? So you can have a bunch of good data, or for that matter, bad data, which is one of the biggest problems that we're starting to see with AI. All this data that is being crunched to turn into models, so you can start asking questions about these data sets, that's all around copyright law and the way those things are actually done. And it's very important to recognize that from the very beginning, because if the data is stolen, because that's what it is, according to copyright law, and it knows and it recreates something that is stolen, that is no better than you plagiarizing something
Well,
from.
can I ask a question about that?
Hmm?
So, at school,
Yeah.
you would digest, you would read textbooks of some description.
Hmm.
You would absorb the information in them, and then you would use those, continue to use those as references, so you could look things back up, right? And you would then like write something that the books described,
Hmm.
but not exactly like what they
Hmm.
have. So maybe you're doing something about like, I don't know, the pharaohs of Egypt, and you read 3 or 4 books on Egypt, right? So you've got about pharaohs, the pyramids, a bit of the history or whatever, right?
Hmm.
And so as long as you're not like copy and like have a book open and writing exactly what's there, like that's obviously plagiarism. But
Hmm.
if you're synthesizing the information from those books into your paper, that is not plagiarism. Ex- and then I think there is something about having to write down your references,
Yes.
right? And is
So
it the writing down the references that stops it from being plagiarism, or is that just giving people a way to verify that it's not plagiarism because you've said this is where it's from, and you can see that nothing in here is exactly written as where it's from?
from what I understand, when you reference something, when you quote something and you give attribution of that thing to the previous person who created that content,
Mhm.
that is not plagiarism, because you were saying I got it from over here and I'm quoting it from there. LLMs can't do that.
Okay.
So they cannot tell you where they when you push all that data into the LLM to train it on that data set, it's all just ones and zeros, or it's actually all just like so there's something called a vector database, and I don't want to get too far into that quite yet, but it's all just numbers, and it will just slurp those numbers up and try to figure out what you were asking it to get close enough to that correct answer, and it will not tell you where it got that from. So it'll give you an answer that is not attributed correctly.
Right.
So it would be, by that definition, when you take that stuff and put it into your content, that is straight up plagiarism, because you are
Right.
now taking something from someone else.
And then I guess, I mean, it's probably not even overly possible, but if you were to get like a reference to every piece of source material an LLM used, you'd probably have a list that's millions or potentially billions of lines long, right? So therefore,
Exactly.
it's actually less than useful because it's as good as not giving you any reference list at all.
Exactly.
Right.
And if you keep going down this thought experiment, which hopefully, as if you're watching this, you've really spurred that thought experiment in your head, you will start realizing that it starts unwinding a lot of things. And the reason why I'm starting this conversation here is because you need to understand why this is such a big problem. Because of all these LLMs being trained on the way they're being trained, we don't have the history of all of this, right? So all of a sudden, patent law, all of a sudden, music copyright law, all of those things that we've grown up with, the way our businesses are done, can get unwound if we do not put these LLMs in check, so they don't start creating problems.
Right.
That's
And it can
why.
be quite predatory, right? I can't remember which site it was, but there's a site that lets artists like share and potentially sell their art.
Mhm.
And at one point, I don't know, about a year ago or so ago, they're like, oh, by the way, every single piece of art that you've uploaded to our website is now available for us to use to train a model that will then recreate art in the style of people that put art in our website.
Yeah,
And then maybe if you're lucky, they had a like maybe they had some sort of opt out
yeah,
thing. But the problem is they send this information one time, and then like if you don't catch that, well, you don't know you need to opt out. And
exactly.
so I feel like there's kind of people are weaponizing this kind of like open information because like it's all open information. Anyone can click on these pictures, right? But
Mhm.
there's a difference between clicking on the pictures and admiring them and like, you know, copying them or, whatever. And I
Yep.
think there's also some breaches of trust, right? You're like, hey, we're going to be a careful custodian of your art assets. And then it suddenly becomes, hey, now people are freely making, art that they're sticking on coffee mugs and selling
Exactly.
on Amazon or Etsy and
Yep.
making money. Meanwhile, you know, you haven't made a
Ex-
cent.
Exactly. You may get a small, like it's like Twitch streaming, right? Where to make a career Twitch streaming is insanely expensive, but you are the content, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so
So I
so
feel like we could kind of talk around this sort of thing for a long time.
mhm,
But I think people sort of get what we're saying. That there's a lot of interesting, uh, maybe legal issues, but certainly, moral and what are issues involved here. Um, and I guess we're talking about this because InstructLab somehow solves this.
yes. So the next logical step is why, right? So um,
So hang on, a question then. So I think we said that InstructLab helps you like add information to models or do
mhm,
something. Did we say that?
yes,
So we're starting with a pre-existing model. So how are we avoiding falling into
yes.
that trap with the pre-existing model?
So there are two models that we're now referencing with the InstructLab project. One called Granite from IBM, and the other one from the InstructLab project called Merlinite, which are two found what we are calling foundational models, which is now an industry term, where they are a foundation, so you can tune the model on top of it to be able to give it more knowledge, right? More skills on top of them. So you have very base models that we can say as IBM, we know exactly how these models have been trained and what data is inside of these models. So you can come to IBM and say, hey, give me the data set and show me that this is the actual model that comes out. And we buy, yeah, sure, here you go. Here's the data set. This is actually what this is trained on. Everything, we have data engineers who've been gone through what is known as the pile, pulled out open source information that is attributed correctly, and then train the model to create these foundational models to be able to be trained by you, in this case with InstructLab or all the other different avenues you may choose, to be able to say that, yes, I can track back exactly what's inside of this model and what it's doing.
Okay. So does that mean if I have some code, I mean, I don't want to keep talking about this topic too much, but if I have
Mhm.
some code on GitHub that has an Apache 2 license, could that be inside the Granite or Merlinite model?
So specifically code right now at this exact moment in time, neither of those models have that inside of them.
Okay.
It knows some general knowledge about programming languages, but we actually have other models that are being created to be focused on code specifically. These are just right now knowledge, what we're calling assistants, to be able to ask questions and give you back answers. And that's actually a great segue into the taxonomy.
Okay.
Um, so as you start, so you have these base models, those granite and marline models. They are very, very basic, right? They don't have, I think in 2022, that they only know up till 2022, I think August of 2022, and nothing after that, because that's when the data sets were frankly frozen, right? So then we trained on that. So now we need to teach it about what the things that happened in 2023 and 2024. How do you do that? What we've done is we created a taxonomy tree here on GitHub, as you see, InstructLab taxonomy, and it is a bunch of YAML files of different states that we have something called Q and A's inside of that you can ask. For instance, I believe, oh, nope, not that one. Let me see what was a good example. If I was more prepared, I would have had this already set up. No, I don't have that one. Let's just look at a PR. How about that? So, for instance, we have these things called Q and A's, which are question and answers. As you see, answer question, question. This isn't great to read, but hopefully I can view file maybe. There we go. Question and answers here. So what we've learned with this project is that we can have our foundational model of Merlinite or Granite, and we can there's enough base knowledge inside of it that it can interpret things, right? So it can kind of learn um, more data around the state. So we've done is we have something called a teacher model, which is above, if you will, this student model, which is Merlinite or Granite. We give a bunch of questions and a base and markdown document, in this case, this right here, to the teacher model. Just like you were in high school or college, when you open up a textbook, you have a chapter, right? And then you have a bunch of questions at the end of that chapter, right? Imagine this markdown document as the chapter, and then the question and answers are the question and answer of the chapter to make sure that you understood what that chapter was about. We give this data to um, the the teacher model, and the teacher model creates thousands and thousands of questions based off the knowledge that you've kind of hinted at that you're trying to ask, right? For instance, what is the
So
orange
I
tabby?
I have a question about this document specifically. Was this document created by a human or by a AI?
Yes, this document was created by a human.
Okay,
So
and that human was, I guarantee you, a data scientist of some description.
no, they're
No.
not. They're just a normal human who read this
Okay,
document.
so I'm going to say that a normal human is not going to write it so that the answer comes before the question.
Yeah, that's so that was a bad choice by some software at the very beginning. You don't this because it's just YAML. It doesn't matter what order it's in.
This is what
Um,
I'm saying. This is why I
yeah,
thought maybe it was a data scientist or something that decided that for some reason it was more important to have the
yeah,
keys listed in alphabetical order than in being able to read it common sense. Because I have to look,
yeah.
because I was looking at some of these questions while you're talking, and like, question, what is an orange tabby? Answer, the orange tabby, also known as. Oh wait, this question is asked twice.
That is actually.
Interesting.
Oh, that is a very good point. We found it. We found, and this is actually one of the reasons why the triage team exists. But we'll get to that in a second. Um, let me finish off that thought to make sure we don't go too far off the rails here. Um, wow, these questions are actually really, really bad. Oh shit. Okay, let me find a better example. Um,
So the other thing I noticed was someone misspelled chemistry.
yeah.
See, this is better. The question comes before the answer.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, okay, so as you see also here, this is also an interesting point too. You see how few questions there are. I think there's only five. One,
Yeah,
two, three, four, five. We discovered that with just a base of five questions and a data source, which is in this case roller inline hockey, um, the model can create and read and understand the kind of questions you're trying to ask it. So it creates thousands and thousands of, or I think 10,000 questions, and then sends that to the teacher model when you start training it on the upstream. You can do this also locally. That's the generate command, iLab generate and iLab train, and then you train the model off of those 10,000 questions. The interesting part is though, we don't ever actually ask these exact questions to the student model until after it's been trained. After it's been trained, we actually, just like you'd be in school, you get your actual questions your teacher wanted you to ask on the test, which are probably really close to what are inside the textbook. They ask the student model, hey, what was the governing body for roller hockey? And it expects this answer to come out, which is
right.
an interesting kind of way. So it creates a bunch of questions based off of the data set, or sorry, the file. I'm overloading terms here. 10,000 questions, which sometimes could be wrong. That's admittedly that does happen. Sometimes it goes off the rails. That's why we look at the questions, or the majority of them, I should say. And then it trains it, and then it comes back and sees if it can actually figure out the correct answer off of that, which is
Right.
quite. Does it make sense?
It does. So there is an actual document somewhere that these questions came from that
Yep.
is also loaded into and that's what that roller.
Yep.
So some in that Git repo is the file roller inline hockey.
Correct. And the most important part of that too is that commit SHA. And the reason why we're leveraging GitHub to do this is then
Uh-huh.
we can say that this is exactly the version of the document that we are training on. Back to
Right.
the attribution to make sure that we don't
Right.
have something bad inside of that data.
Got it. So can we look at that document?
Yep. Give me a second. Copy. Oops. Where'd it go? Where'd my mouse go? And this was roller hockey down on
Oh,
R. I can't
yeah,
spell
roll it
RS.
inline. There it is.
Now,
Okay.
a very, very important thing to recognize straight off the bat. What do you not see in this?
Um, I
Pictures,
got pictures. Okay.
charts.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
don't see pictures or charts. You don't see tables either. We have learned through experimentation, LLMs actually have a really hard time reading charts and pictures
Right.
and things like that. So you actually need straight up text, or at least at the time of this recording and us talking, you need straight up text
Right.
for the LLM to understand what's going on. So that is an important data point as you go down this path, especially when you start building um, knowledge for your own versions of the taxonomy tree. Now, this brings in a perfect segue into why would you do this and why wouldn't you use just RAG or retrieval augmented generation?
Right.
Now, there's kind of a dark art to this. Okay, we don't fully there are certain times when we're going to need a model to have built-in knowledge already about something, right? It needs to know, all, what is it, 46 presidents or whatever, like, or all the presidents of your company. I don't know. You can do this for your company, right? That's the idea. You can build this stuff, this built-in knowledge, right? If it needs that knowledge quickly, and part of the way it makes decisions, or not decisions, but creates answers for you, that's what you want inside of the model. If you have data that changes, for instance, HR policies sometimes change, or sales figures change, right? That's when you want to use RAG, so it can reference that, for what best term I can come up with, library of information, and slurp that into the data that is already built into the model. Does that make
Okay,
sense?
so yeah, can I try and summarize what I think I'm hearing is
Yep.
that I'm taking liberties, is that an LLM is very expensive to train.
Yes.
A augmenting it with InstructLab is somewhat expensive to train,
Hmm.
and then augmenting it with RAG is reasonably affordable and quick to train, and therefore the less the material changes, the further up the stack you should put it, because you don't need to do it over and over again. So, assuming that roller inline hockey has no major changes to the game,
Hmm.
um, you would put this information into um, InstructLab, into your model,
Yes.
but you might put your weekly stats from the games that are played into a RAG, because you would maybe rebuild the RAG from the like last week's game data every Monday or Tuesday.
Yes. Yes.
And that
And
way,
then at the end of the season, it'll be set in stone, and then you would train this into the the model at the end of the season, for instance, because it's not going to you're not going to go back and change that data.
yeah, and then it may not make sense to ever train this into your base model, because you're probably not building your own base model because of how expensive it is, even to get to like, I think my understanding is like half the battle, like a ton of the expense of getting an LLM to the point you can chat with it, is the fact that it just needs so much data for it to learn how to talk.
Correct.
So,
That is correct.
and there's no value in me teaching an LLM, creating an LLM that can talk, because someone else with a lot more money and a lot more GPUs can do that for me. And that
Correct.
way, I'm only investing money on things that are actually giving me value, which is my domain specific knowledge.
Correct. That is.
Okay.
Though I will say, if our friends that are the rather larger corporations here that might be listening to this, because there's a chance they might be, you can build your own AI to do off of these data sets. But to Paul's
Sure.
point, you need a lot of data, and you need to be able to build off. You need to get the foundational models to be successful is frankly Herculean, right? That is a very good word to describe it. It is Herculean amount of work to make that happen. And InstructLab is giving you the tool set and the workflow to be able to fine tune for the business space that you need, or the business knowledge that you need to be successful. Um, so cool. So this is a lot, right? Like we haven't even touched that. Like we've seen some code, but we haven't actually done anything, right? So um, before we go any farther, I want everyone to recognize that the InstructLab project is a bunch of tooling around the taxonomy tree. The taxonomy tree is, as you saw, um, a bunch of knowledge data or knowledge that we can upstream into the base models or the foundational models we're building. There's also compositional skills and foundational skills. The foundational skills are what Paul was alluding to, where you're trying to really play with the way the model thinks and the things it does. This will most likely never be changed apart from upstream engineering of the really, really smart data scientists on the InstructLab project, they will play with the foundational reasoning. Composition skills, on the other hand, this is when you give more knowledge, turns out you need to be able to crunch that knowledge somehow interesting, right? An interesting way of doing it. And there are ways to there will be times where you got to give the model new skills to be able to take that knowledge that you're already giving it to so it can do something else. One of the best examples, and which is frustrating because it's hard to really come up with good examples of this, but one of the best ones is the jokes, puns, or poems, because humans have sometimes hard time writing sonnets, right? Like it was an art form back in what, the 1500s or whatever. Um, but nowadays we don't really think of sonnets as a way to write poems. LLMs are actually quite good at it, but sometimes the base models don't have that skill. So we give the ability for ways to learn how to write poems. For instance, there we go, is a sonnet right here. As you can see, we give some examples of a sonnet, or we should give multiple, and there's only one here, which is a different conversation. And it will take that as an example, and it will train as a new skill down the line. Now, what's very important to recognize about these skills also is that LLMs suck at math. They just straight up suck at math, because what are they doing? They are going through their ones or their different vector databases to find the words they're looking for, and it doesn't know how to compute stuff. So one of the biggest problems we see with people trying to understand new skills inside of these base models is they're trying to give us math, new ways of doing math, learning how to do math. LLMs are bad at math, and they're not going to be good anytime soon. So if you're trying to think of skills, you think of them as linguistic skills instead of computational skills. And it's very important to recognize that as you go down this path. Um, so,
So what's interesting there is I feel like I've seen some LLM benchmarking tools or methodologies, and some of the things they actually ask are actually pretty interesting math type questions. So I guess that's because that's generally a weak spot in LLMs. Therefore, it's a really good way to gauge the progress
yep,
of a particular model over the previous generations.
yep. Yep. And I'm not saying it'll never always be this way, but at this exact moment in time, it's not great. It's just not great. Okay. So now that hopefully, obviously there's going to be a lot more questions here, especially if you've gotten this far in this video or this audio. I'm assuming we're going to release this as audio too, because it seems like a good audio podcast right now. If you've gotten this far, first of all, hopefully you've joined our community somehow. We have multiple mailing lists, Slack team that you're more than welcome to join, and you're please ask more questions there, because hopefully this is spurred enough. But I want to pivot to actually talking about getting InstructLab up and running on your machine, because it's cool to talk about this all in theory, but we need to actually see this kind of work. And Paul and I have a machine between us right now that we're going to start from the ground up and get running InstructLab. Most of the knowledge, most of the stuff you need to know on how to get this going, there's a lot of different instruct guides out there. But if you're looking for the most verbose way of doing this, if you go to InstructLab/InstructLab, which is the main command line or CLI interface, command line interface or CLI for this project, this is very verbose. It'll walk you through many different situations. Right now, the best feedback loop of InstructLab for a reasonable amount of time for training and actually walking through from soup to nuts is a Mac M3. Mac M3 seem to be the ones that handle this the best. There is a whole section right here running Apple Metal on M1, M2, M3s. So if you are going down this path and can have your hands on a Mac M3, you're going to probably have the most delightful experience. Paul and I unfortunately, the machine that we're going to be running on is actually an x86 box on a data center with a um, NVIDIA Tesla DC GPU inside of it. So my goal is to get us to the point of that we can at least try to kick off a generate to see that by the end of this call here, or this stream, or whatever you want to call it, and then we'll kick off a train, and maybe the next time we come together, we'll start at the train to show what it did. But the reason why I said all this is that this is the most verbose that you'll see out there. If you want to actually see, as I lost my mouse again, I keep doing this. If you want to see the quick start guide, we actually do have one under the community, we are going to be building our own docs site very soon. It'll be docs.instructlab.ai most likely. It'll probably be a MK docs site if you care at all about this. But we do have an actual getting started guide here. Where did it go? It is in docs. Oh, sorry, it's a quick start guide. My apologies. The quick start guide, which is the distilled version of all the steps that you need to go through to make InstructLab actually work. So if you are looking to if you don't want to go through all the different steps and go off all the different, tangents that could be possible there, if you're just looking at the commands, I strongly suggest looking at the quick start guide because it'll give you this quickest thing to do. And this is what we're going to do together here in just a moment. Paul, questions?
No questions.
Okay, that works for me. All right. So what I'm going to do, first thing first, is I'm going to stop sharing this screen, and I'm going to share this one. And I have I believe this is, let's see, release. This is a CentOS Stream 8 box, so it's not exactly the most, the newest machine in the world, but it is running an NVIDIA SMI. Here we go. It is running an NVIDIA chip with one GPU inside of it, which is that Tesla, which is kind of nice. So it is an actual machine. I believe there's rock. What is it? Yeah, there's 190 processors on this, so it's a nice little beefy machine with not a great CPU. But what we're going to do is I do have InstructLab running on here, but I want to start from the very beginning. So I've created this directory called streaming, and what we're going to do is we're going to start from the very beginning. But before we do anything else, I do want to talk briefly about Python. Hey, Paul.
Yes.
What version of Python do you think you should use with this thing?
Oh, it's pretty modern, so like probably a high 3, like 310, 310. What's the versions? Yeah, because I think a lot of the OSs come with 3.9, and you're asking me the questions, so I'm guessing that it's probably newer than most of the OSs give. And I know, for instance, my Fedora box, which is a bit old, has 3.9.2. How did I do?
You're pretty close.
Okay.
So if you are not a Python developer, you are going to become a Python developer by the time you are done with this project, because there's a lot of Python you need to know about to be successful with this. First of all, there's 3 or 4 different versions of Python distributors out there. There's the main generic Python. There's Mini Coda. There's Anaconda. There's Coda, or no, yeah, Conda, something like that. Mini Forge. There's a few others out there. I understand people have their choice. That's cool. But what we have learned is right now InstructLab is best with, especially on a Mac M3, at least Python 3.11 and up. If you are running 3.9, you will have some really rough times. A lot of the errors that we see are literally due to the wrong version of Python onto it. So if you are starting this from scratch, Python -v, as you see, I don't have Python. Wait, there we go. It's Python 3. So the Python 3, sorry, is version, obviously that's very old, right? But if I go back and do Python 3-11, it's in here somewhere. And trust me, it's 3.11 is actually working.
3.11, I saw it. If you do -- version, it just prints the nice version information.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Learn something new every day, right?
Yeah.
So as you can see here, this is important. So what I'm going to do is, as you see, I do this quite often. I'm going to create a virtual environment first because you have a bunch of dependencies coming into this, and you do not want to install this into your system Python. You need virtual environments. What are virtual environments? Paul, how would you describe it? A virtual environment is...
virtual environment just lets you kind of just take the base system Python binary and then jail everything else into a specific directory. And that way you can kind of keep all the libraries and other stuff that you need jailed in a specific location and not pollute your system Python with it. Very, very useful. I don't do a ton of Python, but every time I do something in Python, I start by creating a virtual environment. Now, there are tools around for managing multiple. Well, that's cool.
Yeah, I'm working on this. You keep talking.
Yeah, you keep talking. There are some tools that allow you to kind of manage multiple versions of Python as well as Python environments. JJ, do you use a tool like that, or do you just kind of roll with?
So I've tried using Python env before. I've also used pip files before too. I've just ended up going with just a simple requirements.txt.
Yeah. Have you ever used I think it's called Poetry?
Yes, poetry is really cool, but it's usually really heavy-handed for what I'm trying to do.
Got it. Okay. And then how are you managing your actual Python versions? Are they all just Yum repos somewhere, or are you installing it somehow, like from binary, downloading a tarball?
Yeah, I normally don't have to switch versions very often. So if I do need to switch it, I usually just create a brand new virtual environment with that version, and I just installed version, like 3.12 or whatever. So I have it as my system. I'm very disciplined about my virtual environments because that's the only way I can stay sane.
Yeah, but like virtual environments, you don't put a particular Python binary in a virtual environment, right? You just put the project specific stuff. So how you actually, like, you had Python 3.11, but you've also got Python 3 like 7 or whatever, right? How are you installing those into the base operating system?
Yeah, I don't think about it. I just do DNF install Python 3, Python 3.11 if I have to.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I genuinely don't think about that. You got me on that one, Paul. Why is this? Oh, ha ha ha! I apologize. I have to do git plus HTTPS. There we go. My quick start guide is wrong. I need to re-update that. So I'll take note of that.
Let's do a pull request.
Yeah, man.
We haven't done a live pull request on a stream in a while.
That's right. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Plus, it'll take a while for all this garbage to download.
It really does take some time. Yeah, be very, very Oh, hold on. This is going to get all weird. I'm going to go ahead and bring this up over here. Let's see here. Where is my... All right, so community full. Excuse me. Yeah, check out the JJ all section. Start. All right, so we go into docs. Then quick start. Oh, JJ, wake up! Come on now. Yeah, then docs. What? Oh, this is live when I can't even figure out this. All right. So we learned that this should be get plus HTTPS. Correct? That's what I did.
Yeah, I believe so.
Oh no!
No space left on device. I feel like that happens to me constantly playing around with like Olama on my little box at home. Is I'm constantly running out of disk space.
Yeah, DF. What did we run? Okay, so it is. Jesus, really? Paul, what's the way to get rid of stuff? Like, there's is it D dash HQ?
RM-RF
Yeah,
slash,
exactly.
right?
Killing me, buddy. Killing me.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, um, yeah, DU dash. Oh, so DF. Did you do a DF already?
Yeah, it's slash.
Yeah, yeah, it's slash. So then you gotta, yeah, DU dash H. To get human, you have to do sudo because some of this stuff is rooty. Um, and then
Isn't it like
uh,
max depth 1 or something?
something like that. Hold on, I know what I'll do.
Yeah, you do that. I'll work on the PR.
All right.
Now, if you've never seen one of our streams and our conversations, this is literally Paul and I working together. This is exactly what happens. And there we go. Commit and
All right. So
you can write.
ChatGPT 4.0 told me
Hey, you
you
can
can
type into
run.
the screen.
No, no, I'm just telling you what it's telling me.
Okay.
This is, you know, the new man page is ChatGPT.
hmm
So it's saying run df-h, which gives us, which I think you did, right? So I'll do it. Just
Okay.
speaking out loud. But that gives us this, which is like slash is the problem. So then we can run du-h max depth, and we can
Oh,
see
it was
that.
close. Never
Yeah,
mind.
we're close,
That,
right?
oh, home.
Home makes sense. And then the other thing we can do is we can sort it and do a head, and that's gonna oops, sorry, sudo.
What is it? Is it
I don't-
EGR?
See, that's actually not done the top, but it's actually done the so here's your home GPU models is the problem, which you know is not a
Makes sense.
surprise.
Yeah.
Uh,
We can
is that
delete
where
that. Yeah,
is
we
that
can
where you're
delete that.
dumping that whole thing? Home GPU models?
Um, I say we delete this these guys right here. This one. Yeah. So hang on. CD that's LF that should be fine because this one right here, can you see me highlight stuff or no?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, this one is the actual model, so we can delete everything underneath. Yeah, that's fine. Hey, what's your email address for your so I can do a signed off or a co-authored by for you?
Oh, you could just do my Red Hat one. So PCZARKOW at redhat.com.
CZK, wait, CZ, PCZ
ARKOW.
ARKOW, Red Hat.
Yep.
All right, there we go. Hey, I take attribution seriously now. What can I say?
I know. I mean, you were always good at doing attribution.
Thank you.
All right, we got
That's the
100 gigs
nicest thing you've
free.
ever said to me. It's
Oh,
actually nice.
wow, that's rough. I should say more nice things.
All right, we're back on track here.
Back on track.
181. 181. Can we get rid of something else? Um, let's get rid of that Mistral GPU models, Mistral 7B.02, and the lab one also, I guess. That'll give us another 100 gigs.
This guy?
Yeah.
Oop. And which other one? This one as well?
The dash lab, I believe it is.
This guy?
Yep.
We keep forgetting we can't see each other's highlighted text.
Yeah, that is a problem.
Come on, T-Mark, get your shit together. Oh no, I
Yeah,
swore on the stream. Here we
that's
go.
fine. It's fine. They expect it from us by now.
Right.
All right. There we go. And just to prove to the world I'm not a liar, um, there it is. 290. We got the PR. It's already pushed up. And we got the little bubbles. Yay.
Nice.
All right, where are we? We are back over here and this one. Okay. So, let's see, streaming, InstructLab. Okay, so we should be able to pip install this one now. There we go. All right. So this should be a little bit better. I mean, a lot of stuff is cached, which is nice about Python.
Right.
It's not hyperbole, Paul. You will frankly, you need to be like at least an intermediate Python developer to be able to get a lot of this stuff going because you will find yourself playing with Python modules and trying to get them to work, especially if you are running on a Mac M3, because the Python still kind of defaults to x86, and the Mac M3 is an ARM64 processor, so you're going to have to learn some stuff about processing, how processors are cross-compiled and things like that. So, fair warning. There's a lot of hidden work here.
Got it. Speaking of ARM processors, have you heard anything about the Snapdragon X Elites and if they're going to be useful for any of this sort of stuff?
No, I do not know anything about this. Tell me.
Okay. So I don't know a ton either, but basically it's Microsoft has been working with the folks who make the Snapdragon chips, who I can't remember who that is, to basically make a alternative to Mac. And I think they're just releasing in the next couple of weeks the first batch, and they, I think they're all being sold as like, Copilot enabled laptops or some, buzzwordy nonsense.
Yep.
But my understanding is they'll be similar enough to the Mac architecture that they might be good for running AI workloads on.
Nice.
It'll be interesting to see as this come out. And I saw somewhere that they're actively working on Linux support, because obviously, it's different enough that a bunch of work needs to be done to make the chip architecture work. Because it's a CPU, GPU, NPU all wrapped up into sort of one chip on silicon thing.
Nice. Nice. I'm going to be playing around with Z Linux. Sorry, my dog's barking. I'm going to be playing around with Z Linux and InstructLab very soon. Where I'm going to be trying to get this working on the mainframe, which will be an interesting
All right.
interesting story. Yeah.
Do you think the what is it, power, what's the
Now there's S390 and PowerPC.
right. Do those things have any interesting things that can be used for AI, or will they just be effectively like there's like GPUs and NPUs that are kind of going up, right? GPUs have been around for a while. And then you've got kind of the whatever the magic is in the Apple silicon. And is there something like that inside the mainframe hardware that might make AI better than on a standard x86 CPU, or is it just simply a giant pile of processors that?
So from what I understand, there's a lot of black magic inside of the mainframe, and there's a
Mhm.
lot of stuff that can do some really amazing things. There's also a dedicated AI chip coming out from IBM real soon called the AIU, I believe. You can look at it at research.ibm.com, which will be, I'm assuming, will be running first inside the mainframes too. So if we can get InstructLab to work correctly inside of the mainframe, which again is just Python, right? It'll open up so many interesting doors for running with that level of hardware and that level of um, support. And I mean, mainframes don't go down, right? Like they don't. So business can truly build AI, like secure AI inside of that space. I'm experimenting. This is me not saying as an IBMer this is happening. This is just me, like, as an IBMer, I have an opportunity to experiment here to see if it would work, and it also is an opportunity for me to learn because it's another place for InstructLab to work, which would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get back. So as you see here, after all that nice fun time with issues, we have iLab up and running. I wrote iLab. It gives you a nice little output, which is pretty cool. Next thing you need to do is initialize your environment. So you do iLab init, just like it says right up here. Initializes the environment for it. So I'm going to do that. It dumps some stuff out. Ask where the taxonomy is, because sometimes you have your own taxonomy, but we don't. So we're going to hit enter. It's like, hey, it's not there. How do I get it? Go ahead and get it. So it goes off and gets it, and then it creates something called a config.yaml. It's important to take a quick look at this. Config.yaml. You should not have to mess with this, especially if you're just playing with InstructLab. But eventually, when you start getting deeper into it, these are a lot of these a lot of the tunables that you might want to move around. For instance, the model that we might want to talk to. Um, you know, if you ever need to look at the change of the log level, which is important to look at too. When you start generating things, this is the model that it talks to generate the stuff. How many instructions, where the prompt file is, et cetera, et cetera. Also, when you start running, if you want to run, when you train the model and actually want to serve it, maybe you want to serve it in a way that you can like put it behind an API or something like that. So this is how you actually change the port. So it's by default, but significantly easier. Questions, Paul?
Nope. It's all straightforward.
Good. All right. So now we're going to do iLab download here, and we're going to go and pull that Merlinite GUFO file, which we were talking about earlier, just like we're doing. Obviously, we already had this on this machine, but you get the point. We want to walk through all these. We're pulling it directly from Hugging Face, which is always nice too. And it's coming out really quick, which is nice because this isn't a data center. No, we touched on what quantization, quantization. Paul, can you help me
Not
out
yet.
here?
I've not figured out how to say this word. Quantization, because I keep
Quantization.
saying, yeah, quantification, quantization.
Quantization. Well, we've talked about it a few times, Paul. How about as we pull
Now,
down
hold
the
on.
tools?
Quantization is the process of constraining an input from a continuous or otherwise large set of values. Quantization. You
Quantization.
quantize it.
Okay. Well, so we did not pull down the full model. We pulled down a quantized version of it. What is that to you, Paul?
I mean, I'm gonna guess it's like taking like a movie, for example. You've got like a fully uncompressed raw uh movie, which is like 1 billion gigabytes.
Hmm.
And that's great because, at the movie studio level, you need the perfect quality, right?
Hmm.
But when I'm renting movies from my local Blockbuster online,
Hmm.
I don't want to download that entire raw video. So I can say, well, 1080p MPEG is good
Hmm.
enough.
Yep.
And so basically they compress that down by simply saying, we're okay with some quality loss. Because there's kind of the two types of compression. There's like lossless compression, like a zip file or a tarball,
Hmm.
right? And that's
Hmm.
great for something that has to remain exactly like it was, but has a lot of repeating patterns in the
Hmm.
like actual, file itself. Whereas what we're doing when we're making an MPEG out of a movie is we're basically um, reducing effectively the amount of pixels that are being recorded, and we're saying, okay, these 10 pixels are roughly the same, so we can store it in one single byte or
Hmm.
whatever. So you're effectively not just doing you're not just compressing the file, but you're also kind of compressing the quality of the movie. So
Yes.
then when you watch it back, often if you're watching videos that you've rented from your local Blockbuster online, in like where the picture is black, you often see weird little artifacts.
Hmm.
And that's kind of one of many things that the compression has caused. Because it's
Hmm.
not like no longer a perfect picture. So I would guess that this is happening with the AI model as well. So we're kind of taking a really, really smart model and we're saying, well, that's great because I've got 6 massive GPUs in my, server in the cloud. But here on my laptop, I've got, a couple of gig on a GPU that's 10 years old.
Hmm.
So what I want to do is basically compress it down until it fits into the memory of my GPU. And I have to be okay with the fact it's going to get dumber because I would imagine it's just throwing away um, like vector data in the
Hmm.
in the database. So
Yep.
yeah, am I right?
That's exactly right. And it, I know there are going to be people who will be like, well, it's not, you're not getting dumber, you're just getting less accurate. Well, okay, fine, but you know what I mean. It's
Yeah,
fine. We're human. We can only like make
right.
connections. But also, I did not realize what time it was, and
Oh,
we've been going on for quite a while.
oh,
Mainly because this stuff is hard and fun. But I think I'm gonna end it just in a second here because it'll be a perfect place for us to pick up next time when we're actually starting to play around with the YAML files. But
okay.
I wanted to prove
Can,
to you
can we
that this
chat with
actually
this
works.
thing before you wrap up? Is that what you're going to do?
Yep, that's
Okay,
exactly what I was
cool.
going to do. So as you see here, we're going to do ilab serve, and it will. Oh, yeah. Whoops. Don't look behind the curtain. ilab serve. There we go. So this is that model that we pulled down,
Hmm.
as you can see. And what we're going to do is we're going to come over here and do ilab chat. Connect to its local one, just as we said, and said, tell Paul a funny joke about Australia. Australia. How do you spell your country? Thank you. Okay.
Um,
I don't find that funny.
that's yeah. I'm not. Is this a fact or a joke? I'm not
I,
quite
I,
sure.
I think this
Um,
goes back to the
so this
quantization.
this is the first thing I always ask an AI.
Ah, there you go. Yeah, that's right.
Nice.
Yeah. Doesn't have say who created Batman. Because it didn't actually say, right?
Right.
Oh yeah, that's right. Bill Finger, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, this is cool.
Now remember, Merlinite, just to make sure that we're all on the same page, is one of the open source models, right? So it's Merlinite and Granite.
mhm.
So this is actually one of the models that you
Okay.
can pull directly from Hugging Face that is open source.
Have you got Granite on here as well?
No, not yet.
Okay.
You have to. There's a couple more steps to Granite, and that's a little out of scope for this call at least.
No worries.
But also to make sure that people see that too, as you saw the elapsed seconds there and how it came out, right? If you've not played at all with LLMs, that's actually important to recognize because it doesn't figure everything out and then answer to you. It answers it one word at a time. So it comes out slowly like that, and it's like it's thinking about what the next answer or next thing it needs to say is. So that's why sometimes it seems really slow, is because it's trying to find the answers for you in real time. Yep,
So tell me why it thinks today is August 19th, 2022.
because that is the last time the data set updated the date. This is it got frozen in time in August of 2022 when this was done.
Right.
Yes, that's the reason
Huh.
why if you go through the taxonomy, for instance, you'll see there's a lot of Coachella 2023 in there because it does not know about Coachella 2023. So we were
But
trying to make it new up.
why on earth would we want AI to know about Coachella? Shouldn't we be
We
like,
needed we
shouldn't
needed
we
to
be
find
hiding
something to
certain things from the AIs?
we needed to find something that we needed to teach it about that wasn't controversial.
Right.
So Coachella was benign
Coachella's not
enough.
controversial. Okay.
Man, you're killing me here, buddy. You're killing me. Anyway, on that note, um, let's see here. So Paul, do you feel like this was valuable?
Yeah, this is good. So like, this is kind of useful because I have a like I could just have a AI in my command line that I can ask for help and just discuss, like almost act like a rubber ducky. If I'm struggling
So
with this difficult problem, sometimes I don't need it to like solve the problem. Sometimes I just need to be able to talk with something and have relevant questions come back. So
you can
yeah.
actually do the dash QQ right there inside
Oh,
of
cool.
the
Whoa,
question. So you don't
that's a
actually have to go
different
into text.
date.
Oh, it is. Oh, that's
Wow.
crazy. What?
Whoa, this is nuts. Well, I know what's happening.
The 328th day of the year of 20. Oh, that's clever.
Yeah, yeah. So this is what's happening, right?
Mhm,
Is what you were describing before? It's like figuring out each word at a time, right?
mhm.
So therefore, it's just picking from like random pieces of data in its, for want of a better words, head, and
Mhm.
then like predicting what it should say next based on what is like in the vector database, like really
Yeah.
close to it. So
Mhm.
it's not actually trying to answer what date it is today. It's simply saying, okay, you're asking about a date. What information do I have about dates? And
Yes.
so therefore it's going to kind of, at some point, someone has said it's Wednesday, the January 10th. At some point, someone said it's Tuesday, March 28th. At some point, someone has said this more like lengthy thing, or something that looks like this more lengthy thing. And
Yeah.
so just it's randomly picking up. Now there's a thing called temperature. Would modifying the temperature make this
Yes.
more deterministic? And is
So
that a thing
so
you can do here in iLab?
no. So the temperature thing is a conversation we have at another time. There are ways to do things. I don't think you can directly do it with iLab. If you could, it would be in the config file. If I'm correctly, that we haven't implemented that yet.
Right.
Yeah, no, we haven't. But the what we're doing is just playing with the foundational models right now, and then when you do the foundational models, when you find a place to host it, then then you start playing with those knobs and dials because that's on the server side, if I'm correctly. So, um, oh, Paul's doing one last thing, and then we're really going to be done because I got to get out of here.
Wow.
That's pretty good.
So how does it know how to write a haiku? Is that a skill someone's taught it, or it's just read enough about haikus that it can kind of figure out what it should look like?
So we have a few haikus that we give it to do it, and then we did train it to do the haikus, if I remember correctly.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah,
Now
it's one of the skills.
I'm not a plant here. I didn't actually know this. I just
Yeah.
was curious to see if it could write a Japanese poem. Cool.
How about this? Write a sonnet about Kubernetes.
Oh,
Because we all still have to deal with Kubernetes, my friend.
wow. Oh, this now I want to write a parody song about InstructLab. Like, read it out.
It doesn't know what InstructLab is, though. So, interestingly enough, we do have a knowledge submission going in very soon about InstructLab, so it knows about itself.
Okay. So it must know who Weird Al is,
Yeah.
or maybe
Oh, it hedged its own bet there.
right. Interesting. So I wonder if
Yeah.
it knows who Weird Al is, or it just knows how to do a
Well,
song.
ask it. Ask it. Who's Weird Al Yankovic? Or who's Weird
Oh
Al?
yeah. Oops. Let's just get back into the chat.
There you go.
Huh?
He is a public figure,
Mhm.
so we're allowed to identify who he is.
Okay.
Pretty neat, huh?
So is it allowed to do this? Because isn't
Yeah.
this song copyrighted material?
That's a great question. That's a conversation for a copyright lawyer. I only know it
Right.
so much, right?
Fair enough. All right. Cool. You need to end, right? I should
Yes, I
stop
do.
playing.
It's all good.
Cool.
So, hey, nice little outro. Thank you again, Paul. And I feel like we learned something today. And like join the community. Find us on the community. And if you do find us, tell us if you like this or not. It's always nice to have feedback. And then I think they're going to cut this down also, so there won't be a long one version, but the long stream version will be up on at least one place, and then maybe they'll cut it down and we'll go from there. Sound good?
Cool. Awesome. All right. End recording.
Yay! Got to find the button. There we go.